I'm Lauren Green, and you're in the strategy room. Republican presidential candidates are rallying behind the Kentucky clerk taken into custody Thursday for not issuing marriage license to same-sex couples. GOP presidential candidate Senator Ted Cruz and Senator Marco Rubio weighed in last night. Take a listen.
What happened today is an outrage. It is fundamentally wrong. For the first time, we're seeing a Christian woman thrown in jail for standing up for her faith. I'll tell you, I stand with Kim Davis, unequivocally. I stand with her and anyone else that the government is trying to persecute for standing up for their faith.
People should be able to live by the precepts of their faith and create some alternative that accommodates them while following the law, and there's been no work done.
Well, here with reaction are Jeanne Zaino, professor of political science and international studies at Iona College, and Ashley Intartaglia, principal at the Victory Group. Welcome to you both.
Hey, Lauren.
Hey, Ashley, so I'm going to start with you. So what do you make of this?
Well, Lauren, there's really two things at play here. There's the religious rights of the individual versus the common will of the people as codified law. And unfortunately, these people have sworn an oath to uphold the law. Frankly, we can't have elected officials running around making decisions based on their public office, on their personal beliefs and opinions. What if that was the situation everywhere and a clerk of the court personally disagreed with something like interracial marriage? Does that give them the power to then deny a couple who happens to be interracial a marriage license? Or if a couple who's 18 years old walks in and they decide, well, based on my personal belief, you're too young, or an older man and a younger woman, they're sworn to uphold the laws of the Constitution and of the state that they represent. And I just think this is a really bad standard and frankly very disappointing on the side of the candidates who are standing with Kim. How about we stand with the
I just want to bring up one point.
Constitution?
I just want to bring up one point because I want you to clarify this, because it was Mike Huckabee who just said that, you know, the mayor of San Francisco who stood up against Proposition 8, you know, because it was the law of the land to actually marry same-sex couples, but no one objected to that. So, I mean, is it really the law, or is it that emotionally people really agree that same-sex couples should marry? Ashley.
Well, I think a lot of people are wrestling with this right now, but again, going back to the, you know, she's an elected official. She's not enslaved to that position. If she has a personal conflict with this, she does have the option to resign.
Okay. Jeanne, what do you think?
You know, I think what we're seeing here is something that we've seen over and over in American history, which is that when the Supreme Court gets out ahead of the American public, you're going to see this conflict come to fruition. I happen to support same-sex marriage. I happen to agree with the outcome of the decision. Stepping back from that, though, we've seen this repeatedly. We saw it with abortion. Regardless of where you stand, when the Supreme Court starts legislating from the bench, something that probably is best left to the Congress or to the states, and again, in same-sex marriage, there were very few state legislatures that passed same-sex marriage. Many of them were done in alternative ways. And so what you get then politically is you're going to get the Kim Davises of the world. You're going to get a Supreme Court that's gone ahead of where at least a portion of the American public stands. Now, that said, same-sex marriage, public opinion has changed very fast and drastically, but a lot of that change has occurred at the, so for my students at the younger level, millennials are very supportive. Elites are very supportive, but you've also got a middle of the population, a middle of the country, a small segment, even though it's small, that is going to find this difficult. And so you're going to find these conflicts, and unfortunately, that's what happens. So, you know, when you're looking to protect minority rights, we often look to the courts. We've seen this in the case of women's issues. But yet when you do that, you do run the risk that you're going to have these political conflicts. And I think that's what we're seeing here. I happen to agree with Ashley that under no circumstances can we have government officials, in this case, you know, elected or appointed, who are not willing to uphold the rule of law. And that is true for Gavin Newsom and anybody else. They have to uphold the rule of law regardless of whether they personally like it or not. And they adjudicate those conflicts between their First Amendment rights and other rights, the 14th Amendment, for instance, in a court of law.
Let me read you something. You're talking about the law. Family Research Council President Tony Perkins released a statement yesterday saying, you know, today we are witnessing with what the 4 dissenting Supreme Court justices warned of in the Obergefell decision. Religious liberty in America is in grave danger. And this is exactly what you're talking about, is that the court went ahead, is kind of far ahead of what the people kind of want. And Ashley, I've got to bring you in on this, because the idea that, you know, did the Supreme Court sort of overstep their authority? I know they're the Supreme Court, but in the sense of did they make the decision based on law or based on what their feelings were?
Well, I'm going to leave that to the scholars to decide. But the other thing in this issue is that the Republicans who are supporting Kim and not taking the position of Carly Fiorina and Chris Christie, who are saying it is the duty of an elected official to uphold the office and the laws that they have sworn an oath to.
They can't make this. They can't afford to make the campaign in 2016 a referendum on a social issue. There are some really important things taking place in the country right now: immigration, the fight against ISIS, the economy, the deal with Iran, that if we make this a referendum on a social issue, we take away so much attention from issues that really need the country paying attention right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's another question. Is the GOP going to make this so much of an issue that it will actually take them out of the running of the general election?
It'll absolutely make it difficult for them, and that's why you have many moderate establishment Republicans saying don't go there. Carly Fiorina's message, and she came out first on that, was, listen, I don't support the decision, but I do support the rule of law. That's where Republicans have to stand. They're not going to win on a social issue, but of course we have a system in which they have to run in primaries. So you see Mike Huckabee, Rand Paul, these other people out there making this case because they are down in the polls and they think it will help them in the primary election. It's going to hurt the GOP in the general election, and that's what the establishment is worried about.
All right, I want to thank you so much, Jeanne and Ashley. And you can check out foxnews.com for more on this developing story. I'm Lauren Green, and you're in the Strategy Room.